Hello, everyone. Well, I'm Jeremy Wood, and I'm delighted to have been asked to say a few words about our society, Dudley, and what we're doing, both in terms of currently preparing for a more digitized world, but also how we've changed some of our thought process over the last 18 months. I have to say that being described as a rock star caused huge hilarity amongst my family when I showed them the introductory pack for this. And the only thing I really know about rock stars is that as they age, they forget their words. So just be warned. Um, Start with a little bit about Dudley. So we've been around for quite a number of years. We are 163 years old, and we've been doing really much the same since we were first formed, which is taking savings from mainly local people and lending them then to enable the purchase of houses for those who take out a mortgage with us and want to own their home. So it's very much as it always was. Things have changed, obviously, and things are ever changing in this market. Um, and I think it's probably correct to say that we've made some fairly bold moves over the past few years. And since I joined Dudley, we've been at the forefront of opening up new markets, particularly for those people who are borrowing in later life. And of course, we were also the first building society to take a wholly intermediated approach to our mortgage business. So all of our mortgage business is through brokers and intermediaries. Um, and so the society is really doing quite well. We're very member focused, and I would say that really is at the heart of all that runs through our strategy, our planning, and a lot of operational facts. So we rarely think about doing anything without first considering impact on members, and that can be quite difficult, but nevertheless, it's something that is very much a part of our DNA, and I hope it will be so for many years to come. So we've got about 36,000 members, broadly split. 10% are borrowers and 90% are savers. And also we place huge focus on employees, which has really been brought to the fore over the past 18 months. So we just move on to the next slide, and that gives us a little bit more of a, I suppose, a view of the society. The imagery that we introduced last year for website and brand is there for all to see. And the next slide shows tells you a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today. So if you could have the next one. I'm just going to talk a little bit about about an ever-changing market, and what happened in the last 18 months and how that's shaping us. Where we've got to in terms of our digital capability to date and where we're going, we have introduced a number of really important elements to the total picture for our digital footprint. And then what we see as being next for our organisation and probably for the sector as a whole. I would just pause and mention at this point that I'm a huge believer in mutuality. I've worked in the building society world for the majority of my career, I think it's a very important part of the financial infrastructure of this market, of this finance market, and I think that building societies still have a big role to play in providing something different for consumers. I think we innovate quite well. We are prepared to take bold decisions as a sector, and I think also we offer something that most of our banking competitors don't, in that we don't distribute obviously our profit to shareholders. It is going back to our members, and I think we've demonstrated that there's a very high degree, as a sector now, a very high degree of care that is shown by building societies. So if we move to the next slide, this just repeats what I've already said about what Dudley's all about. We are really active in specialist markets. We look at the later life market as being probably the most important for us for our mortgage customers. We're also active in the expat, the self-employed markets, and this is probably a similar theme to what other small building societies see and the strategies that they follow. We have been listed a couple of times as in the regional list of best companies to work for, which is something we're really very proud of. We do look after our people, and have to say that the last 18 months has been a huge challenge for us, but one that we've come through, I think, pretty well. Feedback given to us by our employees is good, is really very strong. If we just move to the next slide, you'll see that one of our features is that we've maintained our rates as well as we possibly can have over the last 18 months, with what we've seen in the market being historically low interest rates, and probably set to stay there for some time still to come, despite the spectre of inflation reappearing in our economy. And so that's a little bit about us. If we move to the next one, talk a little bit about what happened over the last 18 months. We obviously we had to prepare ourselves for a real change in the way that we operated. Excuse me while I just power up. I had to change what we did in the way we operated, and I think it's probably correct to say that it was a real learning lesson for us in how we could prove how resilient we could be as a business, and I think that as we went through the pandemic and our response to it, we probably learned a lot along the way as well, particularly about how we dealt with our members and our community. I think that if there's ever a moment when you have to pay huge attention to your biggest stakeholder, which for us is our membership, going through something like we have done gives a real jolt for businesses, and I would say that we've seen far more member engagement over the past 18 months than ever we did before. But we've had to become much more adept at dealing with members in ways that we hadn't done previously. I guess it would be fair to say that as one of many small building societies, our route towards the digital future is quite difficult, because the majority of our members would still see us as a traditional branch-based organisation. Certainly our savers do, and I think it's probably also correct to say that that many of them don't really want to deal with us in any other way than walking through branches or on the telephone, and dealing with people pretty well face to face or voice to voice. So that's something that we have to take huge account of whenever we're thinking about how we might change the way we operate and introduce new things into the way we expect our members to interact with us. I think if we could just have the next slide, one of the very good, I think really good examples of how we were able to deal with people through the COVID period was that we obviously had to offer the payment deferrals for people, and we dealt with them with just over 550. All of them, I'm really delighted to say we were able to do personally. So we could speak to we did speak to every single one of those individuals who requested a payment deferral, we really were able to find what we thought was the best solution for them, I'm really very proud that we could do that. So in a wholly digital world, I'm not sure that that's quite the way that some of our larger competitors and those who have already followed a more digital approach could operate. And I know that there were many examples during this of institutions, lenders who could not deal with people quickly, and there were some horrendous delays experienced by customers in being able to talk to people. We had none of that, and we put a team of people on to this who were able to respond largely via telephone to all of the requests received. So I think that was a really fine example of how we reacted to something that we'd obviously never seen before. Neither had the sector, and we did it, I think, really rather well and very much fitting the values of the organisation. We just move to the next slide. During the year, we had decided to just take the foot off the gas a little bit in terms of lending, and we decided that we should pay more attention to our existing customers than chase new business. So we did all of that, and we paid the price a little bit. It would be fair to say that a number of intermediaries with whom we'd been very close found new sources. So we understood doing what we did, but we still felt it was the right thing to do. And I'm back in the market now, and we are seeing a return to growth in our mortgage business, which is part of our much longer term strategy. As far as our branches were concerned, I think it would be fair to say that we handled all of that really rather well. We were very keen to maintain service wherever possible, but there were a number of occasions when we had virtually no footfall during any day. So we did slim down hours, opening hours, and we did actually have to close some of our branches from time to time when when we experienced a COVID outbreak amongst members of staff, or we were notified via the app that somebody who'd come into the branch had had a positive test. So we closed the branches for deep cleaning, and again, I think it was a really good example of how we took our values very seriously and were able to react in the way that I'd hope we'd be expected to react. If we go on to the next slide. So one of our values and one of the planks, platforms of our strategy is around our corporate social responsibility. And I think it would be correct to say that once more, I think the pandemic brought it home to us just how to act as a responsible local business. Our employees went to the NHS hospitals and care homes in the area and asked what they most wanted. And oddly enough, those on the front line were most appreciative of having washing facilities. So wash bags were provided to them, and I have to say they were absolutely delighted when these things and were distributed amongst their employees. Again, I think that's a nice example of just how we were able to react and hopefully do the right thing, because ultimately, we can all talk about what we think is the right thing, but there was an example of reaching out and asking, which is what we want to do. But also maintaining our own employee welfare along the way. If we go on to the next slide, what we were doing during this period was also delivering a new channel into the business. We'd long wanted to have an e-channel. The pandemic striking was obviously very unfortunate from this project of view, because we would have wanted to have delivered it far sooner. Well, we couldn't. We had to down tools a little bit, but the partner that we had there was also keen to move it forward. And after a pause of about 4 weeks, we rebooted it and were able to get it over the line in January of this year, a little later, as I say, than we would have liked. And it would have been very useful to have had in the early days of the pandemic. We'd already proved that we could operate effectively anyway. And so that's been a big piece of the digital jigsaw for us to deliver something that is enabling us to operate and to deal with people electronically, and we've seen it be hugely successful. We don't need funds, as it happens at the moment. We're highly liquid, but we've seen nearly 10% of our members have opened accounts, online accounts with us. So we think, without pushing this particularly hard, we think that's a particularly good achievement, and it helps us hugely going forward to start to be able to develop an e-channel with hopefully a growing part of the membership, many of whom, as I've said previously, are still very keen to maintain a more traditional focus. And this is going to be our big issues as we drive forward in the well, we call it the new world. I know the world has been around for many years, but we're still introducing ourselves and our members to it. If we could have the next slide. We also at the same time we rebranded the organisation and just wanted to make it completely aligned with the new online experience. So we rebranded and redeveloped the website, and that's to have worked particularly well. Most of the website find it really quite easy to deal with, and I think that I was particularly taken by the partner we used for developing the website, who when they spoke to us at the outset, didn't find the sort of organisation that they were expecting to find. They saw an organisation which was really very youthful, very forward thinking, and one of the words they kept coming back to was extremely passionate, and these were the reflections they made of the people they saw in the business, and some who commented on the business. So really very important that we reflected all of that in the new way, the new look and feel that we had introduced. Obviously, as many others, we were not able to AGM in conventional format, but I think again part of the learning from the last couple of years in not holding AGMs has been that we can do things differently in future. We will be able to hold hopefully face-to-face AGMs, but also add the virtual touch as well. So again, another piece of learning there. If we just move on to the next slide, the aim of the business is to try and be as easy to use as possible. I think that comes from massive frustrations that people have when they're particularly dealing with people who have completely digitized their businesses, that you can't often do something which is slightly unusual. And so in introducing the online service for us, we decided that that it had to be really easy to use, and we did lots and lots of workshops to make sure that it would be as straightforward as we could possibly make it, and particularly when you have a fairly large group of our membership, traditional membership, who would not necessarily be used to dealing with us electronically. And I think that we've received about the online experience has proved that everything we did was absolutely right. So if we could just have the next slide. So the proof is obviously in the pudding with these new innovations, and we're monitoring very closely through the Smart Money People feedback we receive, where our Net Promoter Score is at any time, and I'm absolutely delighted that most of the feedback is really very positive about the online experience. Many people have found it really straightforward, and if they don't find it straightforward, they can telephone us and they'll get put through pretty well straight away to somebody who can help them. And I think again it's very important that we don't force anybody down any particular channel. That's not the way we want to operate. Might be costly, but I have to say that you know, the focus we have on members is shows through in something like this when we're making a change and making something else available to people. Then it's incumbent on us to ensure that you know, we're consistent across everything we do. So if we could have the next slide. So moving forward, we will obviously be spending a lot of time around the channel management that we want to make sure is right for members. We're going to have a much deeper view of all of our partner and supply chain management, which is something that I think probably we haven't been as good at as we should have been. But that's something that I think will face all organisations as they have to deliver in more of what consumers are looking for. We will be continuing to train our people and develop them in the ways that are expected by our consumers, and I think that it's probably correct to say that we'll see far more modelling undertaken by the business, and that feeding its way into the digital programme that will be a part of Dudley for many years to come. And so yeah, I think it's been good to give everybody an indication of what we're doing. I'm sure it's very similar to what others are as well. I think that my view of the future of building societies remains very positive. I think we've shown in the last 18 months just what an important part of the fabric of the well, of local communities that we are, and I hope that's going to be maintained for many years to come. So thanks for inviting me to speak, and you know, I hope that we can catch up very soon. Don't expect me to respond to too many messages via social media. It's not something I'm particularly good at, but there we go. Thank you, everyone.